Hello everyone, and welcome to the Hearts online experience. If we haven't met yet, my name is Alex, and I am so excited that you decided to join us here for church today. Now, before we get started, if this is your first time watching with us, I want to highly encourage you to go fill out a first-time guest card down in the description below so that we can get connected with you. And speaking of connection, I just want to take a few moments to share some thoughts that I was having on one of our core values, that is connection. Now, last week we started our new series, The Shadow of Jonah, and we were encouraged to kind of think about some assumptions that we had surrounding the story. And when I was thinking about assumptions and I was thinking about connection, I was reflecting on some assumptions that I had with connection. And that was, I assumed that people didn't want to have connection. I assumed they were too busy for connection, or I assumed that they just didn't want to connect with me, so I wouldn't really connect with people. But here at the Heart, I've learned the new meaning of connection for myself, in that it's a wonderful invitation for community. And when we are invited to a community through connection, oh my gosh, so many amazing things can happen. So in the next 90 seconds, I want you to join me in connecting with someone, two people, by inviting them to watch church with you today. And live in our YouTube chat happening just right of your screen, go drop those two names of the people that you're going to connect with this week, and the experience will continue in just a few moments.
What's up, Heart fam? Welcome to another edition of the Heart's online experience. My name is Matthew Worthington, one of the millions and gazillions of leaders here at the Heart, and we're so happy to be with you guys again today, and so looking forward to seeing you guys soon. November 1st is right around the corner. We're going to meet live and in person at Evo Springtown. I can't wait to see you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. But until then, we're still coming at you live every week, as you know, in person. We're singing songs for you. We're doing a little worship time. And so same thing during this quarantine that we thought was only going to last 2 weeks. And here we are 5-6 months later, still going strong. But we always get some songs ready for you. So look in the description below. There's 3 songs Birdie will have down there that we've all kind of worked together to pick out. Check those out. They're really awesome. One of them that I wanted to talk to you about today, it's called Shepherd, and it's by Amanda Cook. So this is a little more of a slow jam. This one will have you in your feels. There was a part of this song that just stuck out to me. And in the song, she's talking about Jesus walking on the water and saying that's only the beginning. And it got me thinking about miracles and things that Jesus did in the Bible. And so, of course, my favorite miracle ever is when Jesus turned water into wine. And I was like, oh, that's the greatest miracle. That's so cool. But it got me thinking, there's so many times in the Bible and so many of these miracles that we remember, and they are just the beginning. They're super basic, I guess you would say. But there's so much more that God does for us in our lives. There's so many more times that He's there for us. I mean, there's times that we'll be mad at God. There's times where we're not feeling it, where our life isn't where we expect it to be. But I feel like, me personally, I always feel like God is there through the highs, through the lows. He's always there for me. He's my support, someone that I can go to no matter how I'm feeling. And even if I'm feeling one way today, tomorrow, boom, and God's still like, I'm still here. I got you. I'm there for you. And He's working these miracles in our lives that are so much bigger than kind of the some of these like surface level type miracles that we're always looking for. And I think sometimes we almost forget that, like, we're looking for these things that we can actually see, but He's doing a much bigger thing behind the scenes. So anyways, check this song out. It's really good. Honestly, it can be a little bit of a tearjerker. So if you're feeling really stressed and you got a lot going on in your life, I would suggest going somewhere private and turning this song on, and you can just bawl your eyes out and listen to the song and think about everything you've got going on in your life, and kind of just unloading it while this song is playing. It's a great song for that. But check it out, guys. I hope you like it. And again, so good to be with you guys again this morning. The Hearts online experience will continue in just a few moments. Love you guys.
Well, hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us today at The Heart. My name is Dominic Insenius. I'm the leader here at The Heart. And before we do anything else today, I want to remind you that The Heart, from its very beginning, almost 5 years ago, was meant to be a community, a place where you could explore your faith, where you could connect to the heart of God, and where we could all be in a community together, a group of people together who were comfortable understanding that life was a mess, that sometimes we are a mess, but the power, the impact of this community comes when we are able to comfortably be in that mess together. So we have a saying around here, and that's you don't have to go to church here to go to church here. And what that means is you don't have to already be a Christian. You don't have to already be a part of some club. You don't have to already believe some of the things that we believe in order for you to find community here, in order for you to have a place where you can call home. So I'm so grateful that you have taken the time to watch this here today, to be here with us today. I hope today's message speaks to you and speaks to your heart. Now, before we get into the message, there's a few things I want to share with you. We are getting incredibly excited about November 1st. What's happening November 1st? We are coming back to having church in person. Now, we've always known and talk about that the church is bigger than a building, it's bigger than a Sunday morning, but there is something special about a Sunday morning that allows us to connect with each other, to sing songs together, to hear a message and be aligned in the same heart, the same mind, the same spirit, and be able to take steps together in our faith. So November 1st, we are coming back in person. There's going to be a reservation system. There's going to be more details to come. So we want to invite you to be a part of that, to get ready for that. Listen, I want to talk to the people who are serving at the Heart. If you have made the choice to serve at the Heart, we are having an all-volunteer mock Sunday, October 25th. So we're not opening up Sunday, but if you serve, you're a volunteer at the Heart, we want you there on the 25th so you can see the new setup, try out the reservation system, and get to know that. So when we come back on the 1st and throughout the other Sundays, we are comfortable serving our community in this new way, the new setup, the new way of doing things for now. And things will grow and change, but if we're all in it together, then we're going to be in good shape. Last thing I want to share with you is Heart Kids. We absolutely love our Heart Kids. There's Heart Kids today at 10:30 on Zoom, and you can find all that juice on our social media, all the links and all of that. Our Heart Kids leader, Alex Temez, and her incredible team each week put something together for our kids to help our kids connect to the heart of God. It's the same mission, the same vision that we have for the adults at the Heart. It's the same one we have for the youth, same one we have for the kids. We want to connect kids to the heart of God and help them to explore their faith and understand who God is. Now, next week, the 18th, will be the last Heart Kids digital experience. And what we're going to do is our Heart Kids are going to take a break from the Sunday experiences online. And since we'll be back in person on the 1st, Heart Kids won't be coming back yet, but they'll be coming back on November 22nd. We want to give a few weeks for the new system to work its way out. So there will be no Heart Kids live Zoom call after the 18th until November 22nd. Like I said, we'll put all this information on social media so you'll know. And parents, the best way to stay up with all this is on our Heart Kids social media group on Facebook, the Parent Connect group. If you don't have that, we'll send you a link for that as well. So a lot of things happening. That's okay. I know it's been kind of like just YouTube on Sundays and all of a sudden we're moving fast, but that's good. That means things are changing, things are happening, and we're kind of getting to a place where we're comfortable being in real, regular life again, all while being as safe as we can, socially distant and all that. Now, today, we are continuing our message series, The Shadow of Jonah. And if you joined us last week, what we did is we dug into the assumptions that we bring to the story of Jonah. If you've never heard the story before, this is literally how long the book is in the Bible. This is the New Living Translation. It is less than 2 full pages. It'll take you 6 minutes to read. And so we've been digging into, or we're going to dig into the story of Jonah. Now, Jonah is a prophet, and this book is about one particular moment in Jonah's life when he gets a message from God and what he's supposed to deliver the message. And so last week, if you weren't here, we talked about the assumptions that we bring to this story and compared that to the assumptions that we bring to our life. Many times when you're reading the Bible, when we're coming to church on Sundays, or we're kind of talking about the things of God, is we constantly relate it back to our life, and it's key to be aware of that. And we said it's key to be aware of the assumptions that you're bringing, because assumptions don't make you wrong, they make you human. And so if we're aware of the assumptions that we're bringing, then we become empowered to know and understand the things around us. And so what I want to do today for the next 20 minutes or so that we have together is I want to dig into what that looks like, where beyond bringing our assumptions, okay, we're bringing our assumptions to the story of Jonah and all those things that imply. And I want to dig in a little bit more today, and I want to look at Jonah's humanity. What if Jonah was a human being? Now, there's a question I want you to ask yourself, okay? And this is something, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. And the question is this: who are you viewing as a character in your story? Who are you viewing as a character in your story? Because when we look at the story of Jonah, there are several different characters. There's Jonah, there's the sailors, there's the king of Nineveh, there's the people of Nineveh, there's the animals of Nineveh, and there's God. These are characters in this story. They're characters in the story, so I want to know in your story that's happening up here, who are the characters in your story? Maybe it's your mom, your dad, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids, your dog, the people at the grocery store, the people at the coffee shop. These are all characters in your story, but I don't know if they really are. Okay, here's what I mean. So I've been thinking about this, and, kind of like a way to connect with a lot of people, obviously, is with social media, Facebook, Instagram, right? And there's been people that I follow on Instagram and Facebook that I've never met. Some of them are different churches or pastors, and some of them are different celebrities. Most of them are celebrities. So I have different celebrities that I follow, that just interested in kind of what they're doing in their life, and I kind of see them in this like far off place in Hollywood or whatever, or they're doing their thing in New York or whatever it is, and I have this kind of view of them, and I get to see their story. In fact, on Instagram, when you're scrolling, what are you scrolling through at the top on Instagram? You're scrolling through people's stories. So we have all these stories that we're looking at, and we get glimpses of people, of their story, especially on social media. We get glimpses of the story that they want to tell us. So maybe think about this as we're kind of scrolling through the different stories that the authors of the Bible and the people who put the Bible together, the stories that they wanted us to see, that they wanted us to hear. And we come across Jonah's story, and we tap on Jonah's story. Sorry, just stay with me on this, okay? And we start reading, and what we read about, and this is what I kind of mentioned last week, what we read about is a man who was given a prophecy, a suggestion, an ask, an order, however you want to say it. He was given a message from God to go deliver. He needed to go deliver a message. And so if we're not paying attention and we skim the surface and we just tap real quick through the story of Jonah, what we see is a story about disobedience. We see a story about a man who was asked to be obedient, ended up not being obedient, and God had to teach him a lesson to show him that obedience was the right thing to do. If we're not paying attention, that's what we'll read here. But this message series is not about obedience and disobedience. That would be the story of Jonah. We are digging into the shadow of Jonah. Everything that you see, everything that you can't see that's behind the light. Because the light of this story, in my opinion, is the disobedience and the obedience that happens with Jonah. The shadow of Jonah is everything else that is going on. Everything else that is going on. And I want us to be able to look at Jonah as if he were a human. Just like when we scroll through social media, when you're scrolling through social media, how often do you, maybe you're following a celebrity like I am, maybe not the same celebrities, probably not, okay? So you're following some celebrities and you come across something and you make a quick judgment. Maybe you see a celebrity and they're by their pool, or they're in a big room in their house, and you make a quick judgment of like, wow, must be nice. Or you're watching the news and something happens and something happens with somebody that we know. It's all very heated right now with the political climate, and something happens with somebody and you make a judgment on who that person is, who that person thinks they are, depending on the action that happened, right? Depending on something that happened, maybe in our own life. We hear that somebody got fired from their job and we make a judgment about that person. We have to make a decision about that person, of what that person's life might be like, that they would be somebody who would get fired. Maybe we're talking to a friend of ours, and a married couple, and they decide they need to go to counseling. We make a judgment about them based on what counseling means to us and where we think that marriage is. Do we think that marriage is in trouble if people want to go to counseling? Right? These different things happen in our life, and because we are viewing these things, what can happen is we can view these events as a story. And a story is told with a perspective, unless we can dig into it, and there could be more to the story. There could be more to that person. So here's what I want to do is I want to look at in Jonah, okay, we're gonna fast forward to the end of the book, close to the end of the book, and the book is being very generous for what this is. It's a very short story. Like I said, it'll take you 5-6 minutes to read. I highly encourage that when we're done here, take the time to read it front to back, and then read it again, and then read it again, and then watch this message again, and then read it again. All of that, including the message, would take you about 40 minutes. So, okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to read in chapter 4, and if you don't know the story, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, okay? Is God asked Jonah to go deliver a message to this city. This city was being wicked, whatever that meant. They were being wicked, okay? And we're not told what wicked means. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and God says, I can't handle any more. I can't handle any more. Jonah, you need to go tell them that this cannot be tolerated. So Jonah, he goes the other way. He doesn't want to go do it. He goes the other way. And he gets caught up in a storm, and the sailors throw him overboard because he asked them to. This is the first time Jonah wants to kill himself, just the first time out of 3. So Jonah wants to kill himself, and then God sends a fish to swallow Jonah, and we could assume that that's punishment, but we could also assume that the fish was to save Jonah, and Jonah is in the fish for 3 days, and on the 3rd day he gets out, maybe a foreshadowing of Jesus being under for 3 days and then raising from the dead. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and then as soon as Jonah comes out of the fish, then he needs to go tell the city of Nineveh this message that God, and so Jonah, he does the bare minimum, in my opinion, okay, does the bare minimum, and he tells Nineveh, in 40 days, this place is going to be overturned. Some translations say, in 40 days, this place is going to be destroyed. Or some translations say, in 40 days, this place is going to be overthrown. That's it. He doesn't mention God. He doesn't mention salvation. He doesn't mention redemption. He doesn't mention reconciliation. That's all he says. And the city hears the message. They hear God within this message, and they change their ways. They change their life. And then God decides to not destroy the city. And here's where we're going to pick up is after Jonah had run away from what God wanted him to do and then finally came into God wanted him to do, he gets so angry that God changes his mind. And that's where we're going to pick up in verse 4. Again, I'm going to be in the New Living Translation, so the Bible you have there might look a little different, and you can follow along in the the YouVersion Bible app. We have an event there with references there, and you can take notes and some other notes that we have for you to learn from or to read there. So we're going to watch this. This is Jonah chapter 4. We're going to read verses 1 through 3. Check it out. This change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to the Lord about it. Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Lord? That is why I ran away to Tarshish. I knew that you were a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. Just kill me now, Lord. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predicted will not happen. Okay, so let's check that out. This is the second time that Jonah has wanted to die. This is the second time that Jonah has wanted to kill himself, or he is asking God to kill him. So let's focus on that last part. Just kill me now, Lord. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predicted will not happen. Now, I want you to, and maybe we've done this already, is I want you to look at Jonah as just a character in a story. And so if we're looking at Jonah as a character in this story, then it seems like, dude, you were disobedient. God clearly asked you to do something. And then he gave you a chance to be obedient. You were finally obedient. Okay? You finally did what God wanted you to do. All right? Now, God decided to be merciful, and you have a problem with that? Dude, what is your problem? You've been following God. You've been a prophet of God, and it angers you that God is merciful? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You were the one that was disobedient. It's your fault that you're there. It's your fault that you're in this position. Now, I want you to back up, and I want you to look at this perspective. I want you to look at this as not as though Jonah is a character in this story. I want you to pretend that Jonah is your brother. Jonah's your uncle. Jonah is a good friend of yours. You went to high school with Jonah. You went to college with Jonah. You've known Jonah for 20 years. What if I told you that Jonah has been a prophet of God, but he would sometimes get prophecies wrong? What if I told you that Jonah would sometimes get a prophecy wrong and it would make him look foolish? What if I told you that Jonah, he's so close to the end of his life? What if I told you in a few years Jonah will be dead, and this happened close to the end of his life, and he's tired, he's exhausted? What if I told you that the city of Nineveh, where Jonah's supposed to go, represents great enemies of the Jewish people? And Jonah was afraid to go to this place because it meant that he could die. It meant that he could die and not keep on fulfilling his role as a prophet for God. What if I told you that Jonah was a real human, not just pretend that Jonah is a human, because this is a story that is trying to teach us something. What if Jonah was a human and he had frustration, he had anger? Because I am nowhere near a prophet of God, but I have been angry with God. I have been frustrated about the things that I thought God wanted me to do. I have prayed about things and thought I had a direction of where God wanted me to go, and I didn't do it. And I would not describe myself to any of you as a disobedient person. I'm not disobedient to my parents. I'm not disobedient to my son. I'm not disobedient to my wife. I'm not disobedient to you guys, my community. I'm not disobedient to the rules. I'm not disobedient to the laws. I would not describe myself as disobedient, but I find it very easy for me to describe Jonah as disobedient. I find it very easy for me to look at Jonah and say, dude, what is your problem? Why would you be mad that your merciful God showed mercy? Why would you be mad that God wanted you to do something and you did it and he changed his mind? That might be frustrating to me, though. If I put myself in this story, I feel like you wanted me to travel all this way just to go back on what you told me to say? Why did you even have me out here? Why did you even tell me to do this? And if we're looking at it as a story, we can say, well, God was trying to teach him something. God was trying to show him something through this long journey. But put yourself there again. Have you buried someone in your life lately? Someone who passed away? How comforting would it have been if somebody said, maybe God is trying to teach you something through this death in your family? Have you lost your job? What if I came up to you and said, it sounds like God's trying to teach you something by you losing this income and having to be stressed about money for you and your family? Is there any comfort that comes? Because something changes when somebody transforms from a character in a story to seeing their humanity. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Viewing others as characters in our story makes it easy to judge them for who they think they should be. Viewing others as characters in our story makes it easy to judge them for who we think they should be. For who we think they should be. So if I'm looking at Jonah as a character in this story, it makes it easy for me to judge who I think he should be. Because I think he should be more obedient. I think he should be easier on God, this merciful God. I think he should have explained a little bit more about the message giving to these Ninevites. I think a lot of things about Jonah when I view him as a character in this story. But when I view him as a human, when I put myself in this story, I think, man, that might have been frustrating. That might have been frustrating. It might have been frustrating to go do exactly what God told you to do, and then everything changes. Why did I even come? What message could you possibly be teaching me? Because after this story ends on a cliffhanger. We don't know what happens to Jonah afterwards. And maybe we don't need to. We can bring our own assumptions. Because something can happen in our life. And if people just looked at that, if people just looked at what happened, if people saw what happened when I got divorced, and I was always looked at as Dom got divorced, can you believe that? If I was always looked at, this one time I was late on I messed up my taxes and I owed a bunch of money. If you just heard that part of the story, wouldn't that change the way you think? You might assume that I'm dishonest. You might assume that I'm disorganized. You might assume that I don't care about our country. I don't know what you would assume from that. But if you just saw my life as bits of a story, then you would miss my humanity. Okay, if you're taking notes, write this down here. Seeing the humanity in those around you can change your preconceived notions of who they think they are. Seeing the humanity in those around you can change your preconceived notions of who they think they are. Because we bring our own assumptions. We bring our own preconceived notions of who Jonah thinks that he is, who we think Jonah is. But if we take time to see Jonah's humanity, if we take time to see the humanity in those around us, then our perspective of their life, now they no longer are a part of a story that we get to see. Now, seeing somebody's humanity takes them out of a story and into a life. Out of a story and into a life. That's what happens when we're able to see the humanity in others. And it's not easy. It takes intentionality. It's so easy to hear about this one person. And this one person, can you believe she cheated on her husband? And you would probably think of her as a cheater for the rest of their life. I am guilty of this. I have done this. There's been celebrities that something has happened and it's 20 years later and I still refer to that one event. Who do I think I am that I'm putting on people? I'm judging people. I'm naming them by one event in their life. That's because I just see them as a character in a story. There's some celebrity or something happened far away, or they don't have to be a celebrity, be a character in our story. I see somebody do something at a coffee shop and I now view them through that one thing that they did. I see something that the way the person. Oh, here we go. You ever been on the road driving? Somebody makes a dumb move. Somebody turns into a lane without turning their blinker on. Doesn't see somebody, and you're like, "What an idiot!" Pay attention, buddy. But when I do it, I feel like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I was distracted, or I didn't see you there. When I make a mistake in traffic, I want people to forgive me and know that I'm only human. When somebody else makes a mistake in traffic, I want to judge them for that dumb thing that they did. So it takes intentionality to see the humanity. But if we see the humanity in people, It changes our perspective. It changes our assumptions. It helps us to see them for who they really are, for who God is making them to be, for who they are trying to be. And it helps us to see people with love instead of just judgment. Seeing your life as part of God's story will help you see the humanity in others. If we see ourselves as part of the story that God is leading, if we see ourselves as part of this story, then we can see others the way we see ourselves as human. As people with emotions, as people with anger, as people with hopes and dreams that we've had to give up. We can see ourselves and the people around us with the flaws and the great things all together. What if I told you that Jonah shows up another time in the Bible, this character Jonah, and he delivered a prophecy to a king saying God's favor is with you. And then later on, in another book of the Bible, that same king gets another prophecy from another prophet that says God's favor is not with you. God's justice is against you. God is angry with you. I reference these in the YouVersion Bible app if you want to go check that out, the two different scriptures. The only history that we have of Jonah is that Jonah's one prophecy that he had before this got overturned by somebody else. How would you feel if the things that God was asking you to do, if God was making a habit of just changing his mind on everything he asked you to do, how excited would you be to run to the city of Nineveh and do what God asked you to do? How excited would you be if the only other time that God asked you to do something, you did it and he changed it? How excited would you be like, I feel like, God, you're going to change it anyway. Why do I need to go do it? Because at the end of the story, Jonah learns nothing. He's upset, he's angry, and he wants to die. That's the moral of this story for Jonah, is God changes his mind on whatever he asks me to do, and I would like to die, please. If we see Jonah as human, it helps us to see other people as human. That's how we can bring the story of Jonah into our life. Because while Jonah might be a character in this story, when we see him as human, it helps us to see the people in our life as human. And if we see them as human, we can be intentional of not making snap judgments for one act that somebody has done. One of the celebrities that I follow on Instagram, his name is Scooter Braun. You might know who he is. He's the manager of Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, whatever. And I knew about this guy, but only from news headlines, right? He did this thing. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. And he said this to this person. I'm like, oh man, this guy is rough. He's really lost touch with what it means to be human and what it means to be a person and all this. And then a great friend of mine, Jason Biesenbach, you guys might know him. He invited me to this conference in Las Vegas, and Scooter Braun was one of the speakers there. And I didn't know that. I had never heard him talk. I had never listened to anything. I was just making judgments about this guy. And I didn't think about this guy a lot. I just mean whenever his name came up, I was making judgments about him from the things that I saw. And then I got to hear him talk for about 45 minutes. And he talked about what it means to be a dad and what it means to be a good husband to his wife and the kinds of decisions he makes. He talked about his morning routine. And the more that he talked about things that were happening in his life, I started to see him more as a human being. I know that sounds silly. I know that we're all human beings, but we have a tendency to see people as characters in our story. We have a tendency to see people as characters in the story that we are living, because this is our view. So we talked about last week in the assumptions. And when we bring assumptions, we are assuming things because this is the view that we have. So when we see people as characters in the story, that's what they are, as characters. And characters are one-dimensional. And so what we want to be able to do is see people's humanity, to see the depth of them. And that's my challenge for you this week. Who are the people in your life that are just characters in your story? Who are you a character in someone else's story? Where are you just a character in someone else's story? What can you do this week to see the humanity in Jonah and to see the humanity in the people around you? Because when you see the humanity, you see the nuances, you see the hopes and dreams, it helps you to view people in a different perspective. And maybe, if we can see ourselves as part of God's story, then what that allows us to do is be able to love people, to be able to be merciful to people, to be able to be merciful to the people that God loves. Because Jonah, and we'll talk about this more in this series, Jonah seemingly can't stand these people, but God loves the people that Jonah hates, and God loves the people that we hate. And when we see the humanity in them, we can see what God sees in them. All right, y'all. I want to pray for you today before we end. So grateful that you were able to spend some time with us today. So if you're in the room with somebody and you feel comfortable, grab a hand and let's pray. God, thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to love each other, for the opportunity that we have to see the humanity in others. God, you have put this humanity in us. You have given us hopes and dreams and love and joy and anger and sadness. And I pray that we'd be able to see these in others, to be able to see the humanity in others and not just view them as a character in our story. And I hope I hope and pray that perspective would change us from the inside out and make us more of the people that you have created us to be. So we love you, and we pray that in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all.
Hello, everyone. If we've not met, my name is Crystal, and we want to tell you just one more time, we are so thankful that you've been making the decision to join us right here in our online experience. And we know this has been a really powerful message through the conversations that we've been able to have with you. Before we head out today, I want to talk to you about an opportunity that we all have to continue to develop our relationship with God and each other and this community of San Marcos. Something that we believe can grow your faith right here is when you make the choice to give. Now, when we talk about giving at the heart, it is always centered around community. And we've been in a season, in a pandemic, where we've needed to lean into one another. It's been incredibly amazing to see what we've been able to continue to do behind the scenes because of your generosity. Our children's ministry continues to grow. We've been able to reach people digitally for months now. And it's because of the choices that we have made as a community to continue to grow this city and the Heart community. We want to tell you that we are grateful for your generosity. Something else that we strongly believe in at the Heart is that giving has to be a choice. You see, it doesn't matter an amount that we place into an online system or into a bucket on a Sunday. What matters is that we are making that choice to give because we want to be a part of what is happening in our community and in our faith, and we want to be stretched. So for those of you that are going to choose to give today, you can do that in a couple of different ways. We have the Church Center app, and you can download that on any smartphone, and you can choose to give that way. You can also head over to theheart.church/give as well. And we want to remind you, we've been sharing that it's so important for us to also be a resource to our community. So if you are in a position where you need assistance, I want to lead you over to theheart.church/updates. And there's a section there where you can reach out and let us know that you are in need of assistance. Remember that we are all in this together. And when it comes to giving, when it comes to growing our faith, when it comes to stretching, it's a choice that we get to make. All right, you guys, we hope that you have an absolutely incredible day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.